It's time for our speaker this morning. Dr. H. Randall Grumpelt is a retired psychologist. He taught college-level courses for about 12 years. He directed 2 counseling centers for several years and shared a private practice with his wife for 20 years. His last 10 years of practice were primarily devoted to forensic focus. Randy's talk today is titled Existentialism as a Way of Thinking Outside of the Box. Welcome, Randy.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello there. I haven't given a talk in a long, long time, and I'm 90 years old. I hope it all comes together and sounds reasoned, intelligent, cogent. Is this my last hurrah? Well, here it begins. Existentialism. And a subtitle, How We Deny Reality and What We Can Do About It. Here's a quote. If most of us remain ignorant of ourselves, it is because self-knowledge is painful and we prefer the pleasures of illusion. That's from Aldous Huxley. He was an English writer and philosopher who won the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize, 7 different times. Existentialists provide a view of the world that is uncommon. However, to a humanist, breaking from the common mold is judged as immensely sensible and reasonable. And most humanists believe that the truth cannot be found in common ideas. For those of you who know something about philosophy, think of Plato and Friedrich Nietzsche and John Stuart Mill and Albert Camus. They all thought way outside the box. Psychologists have credible evidence that we deny facts that we don't want to believe. And in many, many important areas, we create an unreal world. This fits with existentialist theory. The vast majority of humanity denies what it does not want to believe. Existentialists also honor individual freedom of thought and action, so they differ from one another, and they believe in diversity of ideas and behavior. So let's begin with 5 assertions from my own existentialist playbook. This isn't a summary of common typical views. These are my own beliefs. The first is that life is short. I'll go into each of these as time goes on. The second is that people deny facts about themselves because they cannot admit their finiteness and their unimportance. So people deny. The third is that there are no absolute values, no moral imperatives, no universal set of rules that say this is how we all should live. Nevertheless, number 4, we search for meaning to understand how we fit in, how we can contribute, what it's all about. And that search for meaning leads me finally to consider the absurd. To begin with number 1, life is short. Life is fragile. Often life quickly and tragically changes. A heart attack, or cancer, or a traffic accident. Unexpected things happen. But even if one is fortunate and lives a long life, it eventually ends at 80 or 90 or 100 years old. Your life is an example of the irreversibility of time. Time is a continuum. There was an eternity of time before any of us were born. Our life is just a very minor blip on that continuum, and then we die. The world continues to spin, and there will be an eternity of time after us. As far as anyone can tell, time will go on forever. So the planet spins, and for a very, 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 very short time, our days, yours and mine, come and go. But to the universe, we are less than a grain of sand. And now comes my second point. We may have a short life, but humans have a strong and irrepressible penchant to ignore and deny what we do not wish to believe. We want to not only ignore, but in fact deny our own finiteness, our insignificance, and especially our own death. We even vaguely believe our species will go on forever. If we actually believe that our species would not exist 50 or 100 years from now, I think our beliefs and our thinking would change. Reality is harsh. So humans live with hundreds of illusions. We must have them. Illusions are, quote, facts and beliefs that are untrue. Many of our opinions are based on inaccurate information. Our judgments are often compromised. Credible research suggests we think we are more intelligent, more liked, better looking, and even better auto drivers than we are. That means you and me. We overestimate our virtues. Why do we do that, you may ask? Perhaps more important is our penchant to deny ourselves many, many thoughts and feelings that we do have. Here comes my background in psychology. Sigmund Freud is often thought of as the father of psychology. He provided evidence of why and how we live with illusions. All of us have sexual thoughts about both our parents. Oh my gosh. And that's throughout our childhood and on into our adult life. These feelings are part of our nature. However, through our parents and many others, our society presses us to not bring up such topics. In fact, such ideas are considered to be so abhorrent that we refuse to even think about them. That means they're repressed. They remain in our mind, but undercover, very difficult to see clearly. They show up in dreams in a disguised way. They influence our view of others who remind us of one of our parents. In fact, we often mate or marry someone who is like one of our parents. That's something to think about. Now let's look for a moment at our fear of death. The movie or TV hero who escapes death over and over and over hits our unconscious mind. We want to believe that we can live through illness, accidents, wars, floods, and all the unpleasant threats in life. The TV hero makes us think that somehow we could be as strong or clear-sighted or just lucky and prevail also. Prevail even in cheating death. I have been talking about illusions regarding sexuality and death. Illusions are false ideas. And here is another area in which our fear of death produces mass delusions. The bedrock problem for mankind is the irreversibility of time. Yes, the irreversibility of time. The future is a tunnel. And for each of us, there is no light at the end, only death. Depressing, right? But reality. Well, many say maybe that isn't reality. Maybe we can outlast death. Enter religion. Most major faiths tell us that we can cheat our insignificance and even our death in some mystical way. A God or God's love can protect each and every one of us. We will be magically transformed into another infinite existence. Infinite. Forever. Remember, his eye is on the sparrow, and that means you. As absurd as it sounds, perhaps none of us here think this, but many people somehow believe that after we die, we will still be thinking, feeling, and conscious of it all. We should be able to meet our loved ones who've died and be close to them to communicate. Of course, we must continue to show obedience and respect for the mystical unseen entity. Do a majority of people believe the ancient myths? I think that I could and would believe in a God if there were some clear evidence. For instance, a God could present itself and perform several miracles, say before a crowd, perhaps even interrupt programming on all stations and appear on TV screens. Then I would begin to wonder if maybe I've been wrong all these years. Or better yet, suddenly cause all hospitalized people worldwide to appear out on the street, dressed and cured. Look, God, if you have too many things to do, it's okay. You may take a break from work, but tomorrow would be okay with me if you began to do some of these things. However, to my brand of existentialism, the God beliefs are hogwash. There is no empirical or scientific evidence of either a God that performs miracles or an afterlife. None. Nada. No believable evidence. So no beliefs, from my point of view. Let us turn to other aspects of human nature. You know, our species has evolved with strong predispositions to be alert to dangers. We don't have huge jaws or claws to protect ourselves. Instead, over evolutionary time, we became hyper alert and lived with small groups of our own kind, groups that could band together. A large predator might have second thoughts, is faced with 24 people who have spears and rocks, and the defenseless ones behind them. Both of these, being hyper alert and banding as a group, helped us to survive in a world that was full of wild creatures much larger and stronger than we were, and who saw us as tasty victims. So we are physiologically wired to look and expect dangers. Our frontal lobes here, our amygdala, and our hippocampus in our brain, and in our adrenal system. They influencing our bloodstream. They're all interconnected and alert to dangers from any and all directions. We are an anxious species. Worry at the back of our mind. We wait and we watch. At times we create illusions to deal with our worries and fears. You see, except in unusual circumstances, we no longer experience those extreme adversities. Our physiology has adapted over eons to be very alert to dangers and to flee or fight when dangers appear. But such drastic instances are very rare today. So how does that influence us in everyday life? Well, if a company wants you to buy something, the social media knows how to get your attention. Focus on possible threats. Illness. Well, you need this drug. An accident. You need the safer car. And this insurance. And then blasted just about every evening on the news are pressing and potent issues such as global warming, seas rising, flooding, and you need to keep tuned to this station and also buy the products they sell. Perhaps eventually there might be a war with Russia or China or North Korea. It is not that these are impossible threats, but an attack by bombs or shells that could end our life seems exceedingly unlikely. And at a less critical threat level, at this instant, or even this month or this year, the probability that some event that would force you or me to not have access to sufficient food or water or warm housing, that's very remote. Of course, one could point to the violent winds and storms in Texas, but considering the total population of the United States, not a great number were inconvenienced for more than a day or so. With our evolution and heredity in the big picture, and then our early treatment by parents and caretakers, we can understand the profound effects on what we think and feel. We are, after all, social creatures who stay with our parents for most of our formative years. They teach us many things. First, how to do hundreds of thousands of tasks. That's right. But also to feel safe or unsafe, to expect kindness or anger and punishment. Another side of the human condition is that we must find and maintain perceptions of our lives as meaningful. We want lives that matter, that make some sense. Partnering or marriage is really a big one. Helps make sense. Kids, of course, and we stay involved with them way past adolescence. Believe me, I can I can attest to that. The work we do is important also, especially if it is a, quote, career that has status and results in high wages, or a job that helps people who are suffering or old and lonely, such as an aide in a nursing home for seniors. But is that all there is? Existentialism is one interpretation of what a meaningful life may be. It is my version, paradoxically, well, existentialism is my way of making sense of it all. My beliefs tell me that what I see is a meaningless universe. Meaningless universe. I know that many people don't think that way. Instead, they inflate their egos by believing they are so important that a God will pity them and help them to defeat their finiteness, their smallness, and even their death. In one sense, the quest for eternal life appears to be an unwillingness on the part of all humans to imagine a world without themselves. Let's repeat that. Many of us have an unwillingness to imagine a world without us in it. Intellectually, we know that can't be, but emotionally, we want to deny. How very human. But at a broader level, humans inflate their egos in many different ways. William James, a famous psychologist, wrote over 100 years ago about the way we humans enhance our self-image. I talk about my house, my car, my computer, my family, my friends, my education, my job, my chair, and my clothes. I even want my teeth to look good. All ego inflations. Imagine yourself without those things. Imagine yourself on the street without a home and in dirty, smelly clothes, hungry and with teeth missing. Without thousands of material things, our sense of self-worth would diminish. Our world would dwindle and we would become less than everyone else. Yes, possibly a few immediate pleasures, but the sense of self would be humbled to a small fraction of its current worth. And then there are people you see and know, and maybe you are even close to. We do experience some pride in having a variety of people we know. Oh yes, I know her. And we delight and find pleasure, especially in friends. And let's not forget the people in our past that we've been close to. Probably for most of us, we would be pleased to have some, quote, important people, unquote, enter our lives. Perhaps someone who has been a big success in business or politics or science, or an adventure hero. And then there are the athletics and TV and movie celebrities. Would give you bragging rights. But to be truthful, good friends whom you can share ideas and be open with are a genuine treasure. And to the rest of the world, they may have little or no significance at all. There's another way to gain perspective on this elusive subject. How important is our life form? How important? Our science tells us that there are trillions upon trillions of other life forms, from viruses and microbes to whales and elephants. Intellectually, we know. Now here's a joke, but still on the subject. Think of viruses for a moment, the smallest organic life form. They're incredibly small. There are hundreds of millions in the square meter of Mother Earth. According to a 2018 New York Times Science article, viruses, quote, are essential to everything from our immune system to our gut, to a microbiome, to the ecosystems on land and sea, to climate regulation and the evolution of all species. That's the viruses. There are millions of viruses in your body. With every breath you take, they enter your lungs and blood system. They require a host, a living organic substance in which to procreate. So those little viruses may say, ho, 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 I'm entering your body and going to have sex and then babies. I can say, no, 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 I will not allow it, but it makes no difference. Without my consent, they do what they do. Toodaloo, oh, you little viral kids. Biologists have found that viruses play a life-sustaining role in many bodily functions. Without them, we would die. We have a symbiotic relationship. Are we superior to some life form that we must have to begin life and to stay alive? For instance, are you superior to viruses that you must have to process and digest your food? You and I are at the mercy of these incredibly small living creatures. Ego inflation. And to return to that, is that all there is? Must we deny what we are clearly doing? We continually buy things and do things and say things that prove we are as good as or better than others. Must we act like we are blind and refuse to see that we are just puffing ourselves up, obliterating our finiteness and our insignificance? Perhaps that is what I am doing right now with this talk. Interesting you people, influencing you maybe, making you think how I puff myself up and propose that I am important. Hey, I'm a logical and entertaining and intellectual man. Am I not? My existential side says, yes, that is exactly what humans do. They can't help it, even though it's irrational, beyond belief. It takes a long, lonely look under the surface to see unambiguously what is happening and why. Now I want to approach the third issue. Values are all relative. As the 18th century philosopher David Hume once said, quote, you cannot deduce aught from is. You cannot deduce aught from is. Hume meant we can find facts and verify them and even use them. But in the whole of the universe, there are no absolute values that can be logically inferred from those facts. The universe is meaningless. It just is. Yes, it just is, nothing more. What values humans propose are all relative to our culture and the particular time and place and circumstances. What if a woman pulled out a knife and stabbed a man who rubbed up against her in a crowd? Or what if a man burned down a neighbor's house because the neighbor had made fun of his large ears? Or a group of starving people with seeming no chance of obtaining food ate someone who died? Is it immoral to turn cannibalistic? Yeah, where is the line between right and wrong? Standard textbooks in anthropology and sociology inform us that we are born in a tribe, and the tribe wants us to talk the talk and walk the walk. Social pressures are strong on the young and gullible, and those pressures continue throughout life. Talk the talk and walk the walk. So listen a lot, and when necessary, acquiesce a bit for the tribe. I have presented some dramatic and forceful examples of value issues that raise concerns. There are millions more that are common and questionable because they are below society's norm. And that's what most of us personally argue and fight about. It is value differences that create the background for many wars. Cultural anthropologists provide compelling evidence of differences in what values are learned in different cultures. Some believe in active cannibalism. Some believe that no cows should be slaughtered. All cows are sacred. Some believe in many gods, wood gods, lake gods, gods of thunder, gods of war, gods of fertility. Some believe in heaven, others in reincarnation, still others in, perhaps only a few, in Valhalla. And then there are people like me who believe there is no afterlife, just silence and black forever nothingness. And to turn beliefs not prevalent today in the United States. 7-year-old child brides are okay. Or weddings between brother and sister, or father and daughter are allowable in some parts of the world. Girl babies can be left on a mountain to die. Mating with animals is okay. The elders can be left without food. The elders can be left without food? Huh. Which reminds me, I am contributing to your entertainment, aren't I? I do deserve a place at the table. So what can be done? In my existential philosophy, I say, be strong and do not allow the tribe to determine all your values. They are all relative. They're not absolute. If you can see that, then be audacious and develop your own system. We certainly have work to do, but the wise would advise us to be careful with what we say and do. The tribe will punish you if you break a major taboo. And even if you ignore some common norms, you can be ostracized and alienated. Hey, if you regularly leave feces on the floor or repeatedly leave the kitchen stove on, you could find yourself declared incompetent. If you stand too close to people or touch them without permission, you could be arrested and end up in court. If you have no reasonable explanation, you might be institutionalized and lose most of your freedoms. And if you hurt no one, but just act strange repeatedly without an explanation, you will find yourself in deep trouble. Try a walk around the town saying spiders and nothing more. to everyone you see the next week. The tribe will get you if you don't watch out. Speaking of being careful of what you say and do, remember the story of Socrates, that famous ancient Greek. With brilliant questions, Socrates taught the young to challenge and cast doubt on the values and beliefs of society. On principle, he thought that people should have the right to mistrust their elders and the normal ways of thinking. He was brought before a tribunal, found guilty of teaching heresy, and ultimately put to death. It has happened thousands upon thousands of times that people who break with common ways of behaving or believing get in trouble. They are punished, sometimes severely. So I say, question. Form your own beliefs, but be careful and keep your head down. The fifth issue for my existential conjecture is the absurdness of life. Yes, values are relative, never absolute. Yes, the universe is absolutely meaningless. But the vast majority of humans deny the factual and embrace socially approved positions. Yes, these positions are relative. Yes, they are restricted, and they're often stupid. What to do? The tribe cannot be changed or even challenged on most issues. The tribe cannot be changed. Perhaps the best way of handling it is to have a glass of wine and smile. Or, in my case, a glass of scotch and smile. It is absurd. So laugh to yourself at how strange and ignorant and out of touch society has become and will always be. Stand above and laugh. It really is sad, strange, and funny how much the culture shapes all people of our gullible social species. It is comic. In fact, it relentlessly shows up in the comic strips. The absurd nature we display in everyday behavior. Look at the comic strips this Sunday and check out how often they portray the silliness of our cultural habits and beliefs. So laugh, but still keep your head down. Does this make me an insufferable elitist? Of course, I may be largely alone, but that is the price I pay for questioning tribal standards and taboos. So if I am strange, perhaps you can applaud the diversity and share a glass of wine or scotch with me. Maybe you think outside the box and you are an elitist too. Or maybe you just stare at me with contempt. It is perhaps the latter, whatever. Well, there is another ray of light, and here it is. You can say, all right, reality sucks. Let's find some distractions, some pleasures, even if momentary. Perhaps it is revenge for the thousands of tribals you musts and you should that we live with. Eat a jelly donut. Watch an adventure movie. Read a book. Distractions help. Go on social media. Find a friend and gossip. Freud and Andre Gide and all those reality stars may be right, but they suck. So stay in the moment, meditate, take a walk in the forest. Distractions help. Massages, oh boy, and music, and then find ideas that help make sense of this crazy world. Maybe like these ideas. For me, another thing I need and enjoy is toleration for my peculiar and diverse views, at least from my friends. I am me and cannot help who I am. And you cannot help who you are. Furthermore, if you are my friend, you tolerate and enjoy my nature and discussion and ideas. Today, we have discussed one existential belief system. It entails the brevity of life and how we, you and I, deny our fragility and our finiteness. We then considered the idea that there are no absolute values, no matter what the tribe and our neighbors say. Values and beliefs are all relative. So we must show courage and make our own system. Finally, perhaps you and I can smile at the stupidity of the pressures of the tribe. Ah, well, maybe I'll join them. Perhaps tomorrow the common man will be molded to meet one another in this way. Yeah, hi. Hey, join me. This absurdity that let one stand above an elitist and a few other brave souls, perhaps some in this congregation, may stand with you. But even if you did not change your thinking a slight bit because of this talk, your receptivity to the message or the messenger was programmed into your nature. You can't help who you are. So go to hell and happy hunting and au revoir. If you come to my house, you can spit on the floor and call the cat a bastard.
Now, wait a minute.
That's it, folks. That's it.